Well, good evening once again, everybody. And friends, this weekend that went by, we had a satsang with our dharmacharyas, Jyotish and Devi ji. And it was on the subject of change, how to deal with change. And you might say in healing, we are trying to come back to a state of medically, you call it homeostasis, or you say, oh, I had health, I've lost it. I had happiness, now I'm unhappy. Or I was in God, I feel God more when I'm meditating, when I'm with Guru Bhais. And at other times, I've lost that healing touch, presence of the masters, of the divine experience I was in. And it's a change that we have to deal with literally on a breath by breath basis. If you pay attention, even the heartbeat, which we normally say is 72 beats per minute, when looked very closely, is actually, it varies. It's not always 71. Actually, even one heartbeat is different from the other, and medically it's called heart rate variability. And now you may say, well, those details are not so important, and it's right. But what that heartbeat is reflecting is a movement of chitta, a movement of feelings. And the yogis have said, if we can just come back and stay in that state of yoga, being with the masters. And that's why the great saints, they say that ultimately the obstacle to you and me, between us and God, is not somebody or some world out there. It can pose an initial challenge, but after you've quietened everybody in the house, after you've gone into a cave in the Himalayas, you'll see that there are still more obstacles, and the obstacles are the mind, its restlessness, the breath comes in the way, heart rate and heartbeat comes in the way. We have a technique called Om technique, and to listen to the deep inner sound of Om. And when we go there, and people, it's a certain mudra, and people close their ears and eyes, and we are in a quiet environment, and people say, I could hear the heart, I could hear my breath, I could, these other things were, there were other inner sounds that were coming between me and the sound of Om. And the point is that that we have to ultimately create a way in which we are, like Jyotishji said, that when that change is coming, he said, you can do a few things about the change, but if you can dynamically self-offer yourself in the flow of grace, that why did Master Guru's life bring me this situation? And self-offering sometimes seems like a passive act. And I would encourage you, for those who have the beautiful scripture, the essence of the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda ji, based on what Yogananda ji told him about the Bhagavad Gita. That is, on one level, you may say, one of, if not the theme, as many people consider it to be, self-offering is one of the biggest themes over there in, you might say, reaching towards God. And like I said, in reaching towards healing, on one level, you may say, let's say you meet a doctor, you have a certain habit of eating or something which has taken us away from health, which is why most of us sit in front of a doctor. Well, we will have to offer it, that on that table. We have to leave that habit if we want to reunite ourselves to health. One of my friends, Dr. Amar, he's a physician and one of our main teachers here in Pune. He tells us some years ago, a lady came with acute pain in her stomach. And Dr. Amar took, as a good doctor should, a detailed history of her lifestyle and her habits. And it turned out, right outside her office was pani puri, this street food stall. And office would end, and she would straight, very religiously, you may say, we practice our religion in many different ways. She would very religiously go to that stall and have her snacks, daily snacks. And once in a while is okay, but imagine doing that months and years. Well, she was sitting in front of Dr. Amar for that reason. And he said, oh, don't worry, just stop that habit and you'll be fine. It's a case of gastritis. And she said to him, what kind of a doctor are you? If I had to leave my food habits, why would I come to you then? You should do something about this. You should give me an injection, some medicine. And there's only one joy in my life, which is eating that snack, and you're taking that also away from me. And well, it was like a existential conundrum now. And Dr. Amar said, ma'am, you have to decide what you want to choose in life, this kind of pain or that kind of food or my advice. But he says, I don't want to give you any injections. I think the root cause is your faulty eating habit. Well, she didn't take his advice, and 4 months later, interestingly, came back after visiting many doctors and getting temporary cures. And she said, now I'm ready to listen to you once again, but please relieve this pain first. And you might say grace, God gives us a grace. What is grace? Instantly some benefit comes. So Dr. Amar gave her some medicines. She felt better. She left her habits, and I think she recovered. There's a story of Swami Kriyanandaji, you might say, a really beautiful one, happened many decades ago. None of us were there, but Jayaji, our spiritual director of Ananda Sangha India, he was in the audience when this beautiful divine miracle had happened, and he narrated the story to us. And Swamiji has narrated this. Kriyanandaji was scheduled to address a very large crowd. And 1.5 hours before that, he had a sudden attack of kidney stone pain. And the pain of a kidney stone attack, many people say, I have seen patients with that. That was my background in surgery. They come in the emergency really rolling, or not being able to even roll because any movement is very, very painful. And some people say it's worse than pregnancy. And so Swami said he was shaking like a leaf for, minutes, then half an hour. And literally it came to 5 minutes before the talk, and hundreds of people had gathered to listen to him. And Kriyanandaji said he never has prayed for himself, his healing, personal healing. Actually, I don't think any saint prays for self-healing. It's against their principles even to pray for specifics, actually, many times. And Kriyanandaji, but he did say this much to Divine Mother. He used to pray to God as Mother, Divine Mother. And he says, Divine Mother, I had scheduled myself for this talk. People have gathered. They've come from a distance. I'm happy if you don't want me to, if you want this pain to continue. But if you want me to speak, you're going to have to do something about this pain, because he was like curled up in that much pain. And he says, just as the prayer ended, he said, literally from one moment to the other, the pain left. And here's the interesting healing that happened. He said the pain, kidney stone pain, stopped, but a very profound bliss came upon him. And he says the bliss was so overwhelming that he somehow carried himself to the stage. He tried to address people, and he tried many times to speak. But finally, this is what he had to say. He said, I'm very sorry, friends. First, it was the kidney stone pain, and now it is this bliss that has come upon me. And he says, please forgive me. I am not able to speak. And Jayaji tells us, he says, I was in the audience and nobody knew the backstory. And he was like, what's happening? He's trying to speak. He's not able to. He's again trying. He's not able to. And it's such an interesting thing that you could be so saturated. And Jayaji said, we all, after Swami left, after some attempts to speak, he said, we just sat there and meditated in that bliss. And he says that was some deep divine healing. Now, how does that tie to our subject of dynamic self-offering? Like I said, Jyotishji was saying some change comes in your life and you're like, well, a pain, kidney stone pain has come, let me do something about it. And yes, it is recommended by the saints that you should do everything in your capacity to deal with that. However, when things don't work out in a certain way, prayer, it's not helping, that it is recommended that, and even earlier, if we can do that, that Divine Mother, what is your will over here? What can it's not a passive exercise that, okay, Divine Mother, I'm laying over here, bring upon your healing. No, you have done everything in your capacity. It is a very dynamic, intentional, willful exercise. And then you say, I'm ultimately your child mother. This illness, the absence of life force, the complete absence of life force, which is how you and I define that illness as death. The saints are not concerned about it. For them, birth, life, death It's all the same because they have made that complete self-offering. And such an instrument is very rare, as you can imagine. And we seek out the guidance, we seek out the blessings, the grace, the healing of such people. Now, how do we make this very sacred theme of the Gita, of what Jyotishji recommended, something that we can practice? Well, first of all, a healing request has come, a prayer has come to calm ourselves. The best time to pray for somebody is right after meditation. And in what are we doing in meditation? We are offering our breath. Is it your breath? Frankly, no. It's flowing through your body. A certain number of breaths will flow through you and me in this lifetime. They are given to us. It's a gift. And we offer it to Divine Mother. Mother, this is your breath. I am taking it for you. Fill me with your inspiration. That's why the inhalation is called inspiration, because we gather that energy in ourselves. We uplift our mind that way. As yogis, we have the added benefit of knowing that it's not only the oxygen and the breath, but it is tied to energy. So you're offering, and I've again heard this from Jayaji, that for many, many decades now, he's been offering his breath, every kriya. Mother, this is your energy. Guruji, Master, I offer this kriya to you. And Swamiji said that is the best way, the only way one should do his kriyas, with devotional, complete devotional self-offering of that energy. Then what else is involved? The ego is involved. Swamiji didn't say, here I have a talk and you give me a kidney stone pain. People would actually sometimes get very perplexed by Kriyanandaji's medical situations. They would say, you're loving God so much. Why is God doing this to you? And he would stop them. He would say, stop. This is Divine Mother's body. This is Divine Mother's life. This is Divine Mother's, I am hers. Body, mind, spirit. She can do whatever she wants to do. So which is to say, the self-offering of our limited understanding, the little self, the ego, that Mother, from my point of view, this is seeming injustice to myself, to other people, to this person who is suffering in the body. And yes, we want to expand our heart, but first that ego and those feelings have to be aligned to divine will. That's what Master was all about. Divine will healing. What's happening over here? So we can, you might say, give the divine prescription in whatever capacity to the person. And finally, our feelings. I want to read from the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, because this is a deep subject. Like I said, there are many ways to approach it. There's a line we repeat during Kriya initiations, and this line comes from 1861 when Mahavatar Babaji initiated his disciple, Lahari Mahashaya, into Kriya. And the statement was, even a little practice of this inward religion or this inner yagya, inner self-offering, will free you from dire fears and colossal suffering. And here's one paragraph. You may close your eyes. I'll read this a bit slowly. Chapter 4, verse 33, Sri Krishna says, the inner spiritual fire ceremony of rising awareness is superior, O scorcher of fours Arjuna, to any outward act of self-offering. In this wisdom alone is all action, karma, consumed. And you can read the brief explanation that goes with it later on. That karma, that is what brings us an absence of healing in body, mind, feelings, non-acceptance of change, non-acceptance of illnesses. And if we can first calm ourselves, like Swami said, okay, Mother, the kidney stone pain has come, it's very severe, I accept it, maybe it's my karma. What are we going to do about the talk? Then suddenly you realize that she's simply playing hide and seek. So let's take this, you might say, attitude of self-offering as healers who pray for others, as people who face these changes and health challenges on every level in our own lives, and see how this attitude can help us bring ourselves closer to divine will. Because once we understand why God sent me this challenge, then I think the solution is not far, as it was with Swami. It came, he said, just in a moment, everything was taken. So let's take a moment now, sitting upright, gazing at the spiritual eye, lifting that inner awareness energy very intentionally, the breath. Let us offer ourselves as instruments in the healing of this world. See the divine light of God at your spiritual eye and through your hands, through your heart now, spreading his healing rays around the world. Let's rub our hands together. Send healing by chanting Om 3 times. Om. 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 Om Shanti. Shanti.